All sorts of cheers. This project. Oh dear.
Non-seen.
Well, good morning everybody, and welcome to the fifth and final preliminary debate of this season. As you know, the finals are on the 16th of December at the main studio of Palmer Pictures, so we'll be looking forward to that after this debate. Today, as you both know, we have got the Mallorca International School as the hosts for this, and Agora who are visiting. And first of all, we'd like to give your apologies if your sympathy to the young lady who couldn't be with us in us today. You know, thank you very much to yourself and Fitz for coming along and taking part. We have today from Rotary, we have Harry at the back there, and Viv, they're the ones clicking away, so don't worry, they're absolutely on our side. We have as timekeeper, Graham Whitmore, and as the jury, we have today Chris Bennett, Alison Tong, and Izzy Newman. Izzy, I think you've probably all met before, and Izzy will be the spokesperson for the jury for today. The important thing, the motion today, there is no current solution to the youth mental health crisis. There is no current solution to the youth mental health crisis. Now, after the toss, the Mallorca International School will be debating for the motion, and Agora will be debating against the motion. Now, just to make it clear, although they have two participants today, they will be following the normal format of the debate. Am I right? Yes? So thank you very much for that. Oops, it easy. I'm doing a Boris Johnson now. I couldn't miss it, could you?
22 seconds.
One just last request, as always, points of information. Sometimes you just put your hand up. If you could just, basic points of information, so both the timekeeper and the other team see quite clearly that you have got a point of information. Okay? So, may the best team win, and over to timekeeper Graham.
Thank you. I'll just remind you, right, so if we're ready, first person for the debate, please, away we go.
Good morning, honourable judges, distinguished guests, teachers and students. The motion for our debate is that there is no current solution to the youth mental health crisis. And we, the Mallorca International School team, strongly agree with this argument. To respond to this motion, please allow me to begin by describing my function and the roles of my team members. My name is Emma Tibbs, and today I'm going to be speaking about how schooling contributes to the youth mental health crisis and how there is a lack of education towards the mental health crisis. Later, our second speaker will talk about society and its damaging impact on the youth. And finally, our third speaker will talk about the inequalities, lacks of services, and the role of genetics towards the mental health crisis. In the past year, there has been a 60% increase in the number of people under the age of 18 diagnosed with a mental health condition. Around 35 hours is spent each week at school for the average student. Therefore, this is the most logical place to combat the crisis and provide support. However, little is being done to solve it, and in many cases, schools are contributing to the youth mental health crisis. A study taken in the US shows students are more comfortable accessing help in schools. However, we have seen many are not providing sufficient support, and in many cases, schools haven't recognised the crisis and have put no plans in place for early detection and intervention. In addition, young students in the UK have reported having their mental health treated as bad behaviour, and rather than being supported to address underlying issues. Some reported being sent into isolation, physically restrained, or excluded from school. At some point, the opposing team might try to tell you that education is now changing to include a new curriculum adapted to education. Adapted to better education for mental health. This is true for all schools, private schools, and many schools in developed countries. However, this does not apply to many schools in low-income countries and public schools. They just don't have the sufficient funding to hire specialists for these students. Ms. Hiller, a CBT therapist for the NHS, explained to us that it is vital schools have education plans, counsellors, and experts who have the knowledge and enthusiasm to deal with the crisis. Unfortunately, due to the amount this would cost to put in place, many young children will never get the help they need and deserve. Now on to my second point. Not only is schooling not providing enough education, it is part of what is driving the crisis. Research shows that academic stress decreases well-being and the likelihood of developing anxiety and depression. Additionally, students who have academic stress tend to do worse in school. 96% of young people surveyed across England reported that their mental health affected their schoolwork. This shows how stress can keep a child from doing as well as they could. So overall, unless league tables are abolished and the way students are assessed is changed, there will always be too much pressure placed on students, which negatively impacts their mental health. We have all felt this pressure, and many of us have developed stress, anxiety, and other mental health issues that could have been solved if schools just provided enough support. However, due to the lack of knowledge, insignificant amount of funding that governments provide, there will always be too much pressure placed on children, and there will always be a problem. So, honourable judges, timekeeper, audience members, and members of the opposing team. In conclusion, as you can see, there is no current solution or strong enough solution that is combating the youth mental health crisis in education. Thank you.
My name is Victoria. I'm 16 years old. You may see this as the sweet 16 age, but the reality is different. My best friend's sister tried to commit suicide by overdosing in medicine. Marina's friend is suffering from anorexia and bulimia nervosa since she was a child. And our teammate's friend, who couldn't come today, can't leave their house due to social anxiety. We live in a big mental health crisis all over the world. And it's undeniable. But let us look at the other side. My friend has been saved. She was saved, and now she takes advantage of good professional sessions. Also, Marina's friends, they're taking advantage of the public therapy groups. And Ina's friend is being diagnosed and medicated and attend online sessions. Online therapy sessions will help her. So, do you think these are only exceptional cases? Well, let me show you. All these organizations that strive to help these problems, such as Osman, Dream, Limbics, Quartet, all of these. And looking at this with your own eyes, do you still believe that there are no current solutions to the youth mental health crisis?
Information?
Yes, please.
It is estimated that 75% of people with mental health problems in England don't get access to treatment. And the reason your friends may be getting it is because we are on a smaller island, meaning there is less demand. So there is actually an increased demand for services, but not an increased amount.
You're at one point, but the thing is, my friends, they are not here. My friends are also in Germany, in Russia, and Ina's friends is in France. And they get the access. You're probably talking about Spain or England, especially you're talking about England. You're talking about the world in here, and in the world there is actually more access. My teammate will provide more evidence for it later. Thank you. Good morning, honorable judges. My name is Victoria Dena, and I'm here today with my teammate Marina Guseva to prove you the view against this motion that there are current solutions to the youth mental health crisis. As you have seen with your own eyes, there are solutions, and not only one. So let's define the key terms of this debate, which are current, youth, and mental health crisis. Current, according to the dictionary, means immediate. Later on, we have youth, which is the population aged 10 to 19 years, and we have the mental health crisis, which is a state of mind in which a person is putting themselves in danger of hurting themselves or others and can't really contribute to the community. Now, having this presented, let the debate begin. And before we begin, I would love to thank Rotary for giving us this opportunity to participate and wish the opposing team the best of luck. So, we will present you two arguments. The first one will present the many ways in which this issue can be addressed and dealt with. We will discuss the ways of preventing this issue, and it's really important to solve this issue at its root. So there is offers in parental pedagogical training, raising awareness of the public, for example. And so, also we have to mention that there are many ways in which the healthcare system is being improved. Marina will talk about this later, for example, and show you a graph in which you can see the improvement by time. And that's not only because of more financial contributions, but also by more specialists and all the sorts of organizations helping it. Our second argument will focus on the solution from a slightly different perspective. It will focus on the way the progress in the scientific community contributes to the issue. Because since the past century, we have developed from lobotomies, from doing all these crucial things. Now we are able to address these issues in a variety of ways and solve them, even if they are common or rare. Our leader will elaborate on this, provide evidence, and show you the large extent in which the scientific knowledge can help in solving the youth mental health crisis. And those two arguments will help us prove this motion that there are no current solutions to the youth mental health crisis wrong and make the world a better place. Thank you.
Good morning. First of all, the first speaker from the opposing team has addressed about the sessions of mental health counselling and the solutions that are being provided. However, many countries, like our first speaker has addressed, do not have the needs to do this, do not have the means to do this, the money, the funding to provide these sessions for many countries and many people in the world. Our first speaker has already explained this, and I will be explaining what role society plays in the youth mental health crisis. The world is very different to what it was 20 years ago, and we can see this, for example, in social media. Although social media is not entirely bad, it is certainly a factor that contributes to, if not triggers, many mental illnesses. Let's use TikTok as an example. While scrolling on this app, you have most likely come across someone with an ideal body, or in other words, a body that society has convinced adolescents to be the perfect body. Teenagers watching these videos are prone to compare themselves to these perfect people, increasing their insecurities and decreasing their self-confidence. In addition to this, social media platforms do not always share accurate information. Although many platforms such as Instagram have a filter for false information, there are many posts portraying mental illnesses as nothing more than jokes or personality traits. Let me give you an example of this. Someone posts a picture of their study notes and the caption says, "Wow, I'm so OCD about my notes." Someone reading it might think, "I like my notes to be neat, so does that mean that I have OCD?" They will then convince themselves that they have OCD and go and seek help. The waiting time for social care and therapists in the UK is 1 to 2 years. People with mental health issues that are worsening over time have to wait 1 to 2 years to receive help.
For information,
Yes.
you're bringing up social media. Well, what do you think about certain communities on social media that gather people together that struggle with the same mental issue, which actually results very helpful to combat those issues and helps teenagers find supports among themselves?
Well, of course, there are communities such as that are very inclusive to people with mental health issues. However, many posts, for example, with these perfect people, have hate comments underneath because it doesn't fit the normal anymore. So there's a lot more hate also in social media, as well as awareness. Suicide rates among youth increased by over 30% between 2014 and 2017. With a 30% increase still rising to this day, it seems highly unlikely that there is a current solution to this mental health crisis. Now on to my second point. Although many believe the current pandemics have been beneficial for people with anxiety and depression, it has actually had many negative impacts. Once children enter adolescence, they begin to differentiate from their family, often making their friends the most important source of social support. During the pandemic, these relationships were cut to a minimum, often resulting in the development of further mental illnesses. Early detection plays a huge role in treating mental illnesses. It is very hard to detect a mental illness when there are less people around to notice changes in behavior and manner. This often leads to mental illnesses staying undetected, therefore increasing the duration of untreated illness. The longer this period, the more severe the illness is and the harder it is to treat. Finally, let's move on to my third point. Many adolescents with severe mental health problems do not ask for urgent help, even if they need it. This can be for multiple reasons, one of which being that they feel they are wasting others' time, and another being that they just do not want to admit, even to themselves, that they are in need of serious help. Although many teenagers do not ask for help because of reasons that they themselves put into place, it might also be the child's parents. This might be due to the relationship between them, or simply because they don't want to believe that their child has an illness. If you require therapy and you are under the age of 16 and 18, you need parental consent. So, judges, distinguished guests, audience members, and members of the opposing team, in conclusion, we believe that there is no current solution to the youth mental health crisis due to social media causing insecurities and spreading false information, the pandemic limiting social support and increasing the duration of untreated illness, and finally, the teenagers themselves not wanting to admit that they are in need of serious help. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Marina Gustava, and I'm here today with my teammate Victoria, representing Novgorod Portals against the motion of today's debate. We would like to show you that there is and there are multiple current solutions for the mental health crisis. I would like to start doing that by addressing some of the points that the opposing team has brought up, by explaining more specifically why we believe that some of those arguments, although they might be true, are less significant than the evidence that we have brought with us, and maybe even slightly irrelevant or not perfect examples to represent the real situation. So we would like to start by addressing the point that the opposing team has brought up regarding school and how schooling contributes to stress and therefore mental health issues. It is true that academic stress can result in mental health issues. However, the opposing team has also brought up the fact that students often do not get the help necessary from their teachers. Well, we have facts that show that that is not the case. Further and further today, there are organizations that help that try to help train professionals that work at the schools that are helping teenagers get the advice they need and sometimes direct them to further solutions like therapy. The fact that they brought up that students are more comfortable to receive help when they are at school shows that even further. That means that there are resources at schools, and they have the teenagers have someone to go to ask for that help. The fact that the opposing team has brought up that the schools do not recognize the mental health crisis or ignore it is, in my opinion, completely incorrect. We could look at examples of many schools. We visited certain schools, not only our own, but for other events. And pretty much to every school we go to, we find posters that talk about bullying, mental health awareness, suicide prevention. When you go outside, you see helplines. Yes, please.
I'm supposing that many of these schools are countries like Spain or England, and how there are countries with schools such as undeveloped ones, such as perhaps Kenya or Afghanistan, which do not have these services or these posters or these solutions available.
Thank you for your point of information. This was actually going to be my next point. The opposing team has brought up low-income countries, and there's an example of countries that suffer from mental health crisis more specifically. Well, we believe that bringing up low-income countries as an example is not the most correct perspective to take. Because yes, mental health issues are being addressed less in countries that do not have the sufficient funding, but so are many other issues. So are physical health issues, so is economic development in general. The thing is, if you want to focus on mental health crisis in low-income countries, you have to realize that this is not only a mental health issue, this is a general financial issue that has to be addressed as a broader problem. We cannot be focusing on mental health in teenagers in low-income countries because they need to build their economic system from the ground up. This is not the one point that we have to be addressing. However, in countries like Spain or, for example, the US, this issue can be addressed more specifically. And there are examples of ways in which they have been addressed. For example, Biden's administration, as recently as at the end of August this year, has invested $85 million into organizations, non-profit organizations, that will contribute to help to providing the help necessary to teenagers. Lastly, I would like to mention that the opposing team has said that the solutions that are taking place are not strong enough. Well, this kind of supports our point because they admit that there are certain solutions that are being implemented. And when they say that they are not strong enough, we would like to respond to that with the following. This is a massive societal issue. It has many roots. It has its roots in culture. It has its roots in the way we view mental health and what we already know about mental health. And of course, this issue cannot be solved within 5 months, a year, even 5 years. This will take much longer to fully overcome because this is, to a certain extent, a generational problem. And I will address this later on. But as the generation grows up and changes and learns more, this issue will be addressed and solved. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Juno, and I would first like to address some points made by the opposing team. The first speaker said that the term current means immediate, and yet the second speaker said that this crisis cannot be solved possibly within even the next 5 years. This supports our point that there is no current solution. While there may be some, they cannot be done immediately, and this is an immediate problem which is happening now. Also, the second speaker said that that she used examples from high-income countries. However, this is a global issue. The youth mental health crisis is all around the world, and therefore needs to be addressed all around the world. That it is being done in high-income countries is not enough. Now I'm going to explain why there is no current solution to the youth mental health crisis because of the inequities within youth mental health, the lack of services in government action, and the role of genetics. Within youth mental health itself, there are numerous disparities and inequalities. For example, in 2020, screeners aged 11 to 17 in the US who identified as Native American, Indian American, or multiracial had the highest rates of depression, with 93% scoring moderate to severe. As you can see from this graph, not only are the rates of major depressive episodes rising for all youth, but especially those who are multiracial, Hispanic, and Latinx. Also, 62% of LGBTQ+ youth reported having frequent thoughts of self-harm or suicide. That is more than 4 times the amount of young heterosexual people. Additionally, there are many inequities between the different genders. For example, boys are less likely to be talked to about their mental health. And if they have an anxiety, it is more likely to be unprofessionally misdiagnosed as anger. Also, boys are 4 times more likely to commit suicide, and girls are 2 to 4 more times likely to attempt it. Additionally, there are many other disparities, such as for those in lower classes, rural areas, or countries with wars or social or economic issues. All of these disparities mean that there is no possible solution for everyone that would meet all of their needs or circumstances. Only 14 countries worldwide, it is only 7%, has a clearly articulated policy for dealing with the mental health care needs of children and adolescents. And what's more is, all of these policies were embedded within those made for adults. Not a single country had a standalone policy for youth. Moreover, people aged 16 and 20 to 24 have been discovered less likely to receive mental health care treatment than any other age group. And yet they are some of the people most at risk and most vulnerable. For many young people, counselling services are simply inaccessible due to the hours, the location, the cost, or the lack of support from family or school, like my previous teammates have mentioned.
What is information?
Except,
Are you aware that there are currently online therapy chats, for example, that can be accessed without parental consent for teenagers under 16?
there may be, but in some countries these are not accessible, and many people may not have the technology to access these, or they may not simply be allowed to. Genetics can also play an important role in a person's mental well-being. While a person's external environment and relationships, which are also factors that we can't control, affect and shape their mental state, genetics can give a person a predisposition, make them more vulnerable or susceptible to certain mental conditions. We cannot change someone's genes, so we cannot change or prevent a person's mental illness as a result of those genes, which is yet another reason why there's no current solution to the youth mental health crisis. Thank you.
All right. I would like to start off by, again, addressing certain points made by the opposing team, because we believe that some of them are either irrelevant or just not as strong as the arguments that we have been able to provide. So firstly, again, when it comes to the topic of low-income countries, which has been brought up in this debate multiple times, I would yet again like to repeat my initial point, that we believe that expecting low-income countries to be able to focus on a pinpointed issue such as the mental health crisis is simply impossible. We cannot expect low-income countries to be able to solve this crisis or to have the access to those solutions. But this is the case for many other issues, such as famine, physical illnesses, etc. So again, that's why we believe that bringing up low-income countries in this debate is not a strong enough argument. Next, we would like to mention the graph that the opposing team has brought up, specifically talking about how race affects mental health issues. That is, of course, correct, that minorities are more likely to suffer from mental health issues. However, we would also like to bring up the fact that society is becoming more progressive and more accepting day by day. There is no reason for us to believe that racism or, let's say, bigotry in the society will be getting worse. On the contrary, we're seeing more and more progression day by day, more acceptance, which means that it is very likely that soon enough the race factor will reduce its importance when it will come to the increase in mental health, the increase in likelihood of having mental health issues. I would like to show you a graph, which might, at first, look like it supports the opposing team's point. You can clearly see that there are day by day, year by year, more and more teenagers suffering from major depressive episodes. However, I would like to show you the second part of this graph, which is the amount of people that are getting help. And you can clearly see that the trend follows, and that the amount of people receive.
Ask Agora to come up with 2 minutes summing up against the motion, please.
So I'm going to summarize the debate really quickly because I have only 2 minutes. And as you know, the team in favor brought up the thing that there is no more education and that it's really low in schools. But we have to say that there are many organizations who provide help to professionals, and that there are also many schools, such as our school, that also provide help to the students that ask for help. Then, later, they brought up low-income countries, which, as we said, were pretty irrelevant because there are many more factors than only those factors we have here in our European developed countries that contribute to mental health problems. This could be accessed from economical point of view, from political point of view. The general healthcare needs to be better there. First the physical health and then the mental health due to survival, of course, which is always the first thing you go for. The point of genetics we consider pretty much as a relevant argument, as Marina already explained, and later the social media negativity, which is a really good point. We also proved that there is positive and negative aspects and content on the internet, and it's the person's personal choice what they choose to see. If they choose to see this perfect body, or if they choose to see health. They choose themselves if they want to be mentally affected or mentally if they want to be healthy. So the current solutions are here. Maybe they don't advance as fast, but they are here. That's the point of this debate. There is online therapy, the healthcare is getting better, and there is more awareness risen in general. You of course can't expect this entire bubble of things, which is the mental healthcare problem, to be solved now and at the moment. But that doesn't mean at all that the solutions aren't there. Because as you know, I already showed you before, you've seen it with your own eyes. There are many solutions, there are many organizations providing solutions. Everybody look at us here. We are talking about this, and this is also contributing to the problem. So therefore, we will prove this as there is a solution. Thank you again.
An underlying question which has evaded myself and most probably you throughout the duration of this debate is whether or not there is a youth mental health crisis. Well, 1 in 5 youths has a mental illness. Suicide is the second leading cause of death amongst youth, and deaths by suicide in adolescents has increased by over 30% between 2014 and 2017 alone, and is still on the rise, as our previous speaker mentioned. From sorting this information, it is unfortunately but blatantly obvious that the answer is yes. While awareness and acceptance may be improving within a few aspects of society, in key areas such as school, social media, pandemic and governments, no progress is being made, and the situation is actually worsening. It will take an entire world of radically different people with drastically different views, beliefs and methods to solve this crisis, and that is simply unrealistic and unattainable. Furthermore, even if we had the societal improvement and awareness, the government action and collaboration, and the necessary support and services, which we don't, and which we won't in any foreseeable immediate future, we still couldn't solve this crisis, because mental illnesses are mainly caused by a person's environment, relationships, and genetics. Things that aren't even in the realm of possibility to change, prevent, or control. Overall, we don't have the vital resources, services, societal situation, worldwide cooperation, or means in general to resolve this global issue. And that is why there is no current solution to the youth mental health crisis.
Just say, I'm not a judge today, I'm just a timekeeper, but I've been at these debates for about 5 years now. And I just say to both teams, I'm so impressed by the quality of your clarity, of your diction, and the fact that you are not reading things but using your notes as notes and addressing the judges. I thought you've both all done really, really well. Whoever wins, I don't know, I'm not a judge, but I felt that you've done very well indeed.
Yeah.
In the time we've been away, that has been another debate out there. But could I ask Izzy, please, to stand up and start giving our comments? No, first of all, Alison, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. We were all sat out there just going, oh, there's nothing in it. You just both gave us such a lot to think about. We felt we learned a lot. You were passionate, eloquent, you, professional. I mean, seriously, I could go on using different words to describe you, but we really enjoyed it. Thank you, both teams. You made to be ran down this morning and you stood up and we didn't even really notice that you were one short. You stood in, you coped so well with that, so well done. Big congratulations. Thank you and good luck
Thank you.
to the others.
Yeah, really, I can't say much more than that. Absolutely fantastic debate. Quality of the debate, I learnt a lot. I thought the standard of your presentations. I've seen some videos of your previous debates. You've taken on board some comments. There were some improvements here today. Well done, absolutely fantastic. Again, to the team who one man down, didn't seem to feel like that. Felt 3 against 3. But for the team, for a first year in the competition, quality, fantastic. Really well done. Well done. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And as I say, we could have probably debated for another hour or so trying to walk it and sort this one out.
Eddie, would you like to pass?
Yes, sure. Yes,
As the spokesperson for the jury?
it's not only on how the standard of how you've spoken, some not in your mother tongue, your posture, all of you have been listening to all the advice and tips. So that in itself, that you are brilliant listeners, not just debaters, is outstanding. But also the subject matter. The fact you chose this subject matter says an awful lot. And it's shocking, as I said, some of the statistics that you will come out, it was quite frightening, but how fantastic that you guys are talking about it, are doing, and we are, truly hope, all of the judges and myself do hope that your friends are getting and will get that support that they need. Great that they are feeling better as well. Please send our love to Ines. We look forward to hearing her, hopefully, who knows, in the future. It's just been, the standard has completely blown us away again. Use of graphs, everything, as I said, you've been given that, your hand movements, just the smallest gesture, it captivates us. Fantastic. One thing I will say about graphs is maybe just bring them a little bit closer, because there was so much detail, and it would look like she put all that work in, but I can't see it. So just a little note of something for the next time. And, well, what more can I say? I look forward to this every time I get asked to do this. And I've said it before, I'll say it one more time. It is such a comfort to know that we have such outstanding young people coming up to look after us oldies and take care of us. Just completely blown away. For me, has been the best debate I've been to so far, because it was a debate.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Round of applause. Which leads us on how we could have, as Chris said, we didn't really have enough. We could have carried on ourselves debating on who to vote for the best debater by 1 point, and I mean 1 point. And that was still tug of war. We'd like to award the best debater to Marina.
Thank you.
I think your passion in your speech, it actually, as much as it's passion, just watch the pace as well, because it is so, you are so passionate about it, which is outstanding, but because you're clarity, we were able to hear it, but excellent. It was very, very close, very, very close indeed. And now, leading on from that, again, their passion as a school and considering the situation, but that wasn't right. We did not know that there was a member missing. We would also like to award the best school to Adelaide.
Would you like to stand up? Maybe come forward.
Thank you.
Anything on your feet. There we are.
It was a very, very close call, I have to say. There were
Thank you.
commiserations, but there are commiserations because you did outstanding as well. Very, very well.
Thank you.
Okay, here we go. Yeah.
Glamorous.
Like 16.